Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Thursday morning reading session. Hope we're all doing okay today. If you haven't yet joined me for one of these over the past few days or weeks, at the moment we're reading a book called The Unmumsy Mum, which is written by Sarah Turner. It's a really funny book. I've read this a few times now and it still is making me giggle and laugh to myself as I'm reading it with you guys. It's a real truthful and accurate reflection of what it can be like, not just having kids, but perhaps if it's not just for mums, it's for, if you're a dad, a step parent, a grandparent, anyone really. And it's real relatable and funny, has a lot of humour to it as well. Sometimes she says a lot of the things perhaps we're all thinking and don't want to say out loud. So let's crack on with today's reading. And get yourselves comfy and I will start. Unless you have the luxury of a playroom, future goal right there, a previously uncluttered living space becomes the early learning centre with a raisin infestation. You can try to tidy up throughout the day by putting stuff back into various Swedish toy storage solutions, but you will soon realise you're pissing against the wind. A small piece of my soul dies every time I hear the crash of Lego bricks hitting the carpet. Despite attempts to scoop them all up, I know that when I later go to check on Henry sleeping, I'll end up with a stray brick impaled on the underside of my foot. Good night, my angel. Sleep tight. Love you. Ow, bastard Lego. I'm always finding toys in unexpected places too. Power Rangers in the shower. Mr. Potato Head's ear in my handbag. I once found myself in bed with a buzz, and I'm not talking the Ann Summers variety. That's not my only beef with toys. In fact, I've written an entire list dedicated to the reasons I hate toys, possibly prompted by the most recent Lego foot impaling incident. Excuse me. My beef with toys. You cannot get rid of them. The moment you start boxing up unloved toys for charity, eBay, the baby next door, is the moment the previously neglected item becomes the best toy ever. The plastic tractor from the bottom of the basket he has never played with. Best toy ever. One of his favourites. Half a Sophia the First tea set gathering dust on the bookcase. Best toy ever. One of his favourites. I have resorted to silently swiping toys in the dead of the night and shelving them ready for removal, but Henry knows. I think he does a toy stock take every morning. A friend of mine had me wetting myself laughing when she described the time she cleared out a load of crap for a school jumble sale, only for her son to have the mother of all meltdowns about being parted from the toys he'd never played with. She ended up paying money to buy back all her own crap. Kids are weird. They come with ridiculous amounts of packaging. Once you've got through the cardboard, the plastic, and the sodding metal ties, you will sometimes need a screwdriver to free your child's Christmas toy from its box. I ended up out of breath and sweating after battling to free Optimus Prime. What the chuff is that about? I thought we were trying to cut down on waste these days. There are never enough batteries. Unless you are an organised mum and have them stowed away in a cupboard alongside candles and blank greeting cards. I have no such cupboard, so birthdays are always fun in our house. You will be forever running out of batteries. We sacrifice batteries from the DVD remote to keep Fireman Sam's Ocean Rescue Centre in operation. No film tonight, love, but at least Pontypandy is safe. And when toys do have working batteries, they are quite often unbearably annoying. I had to take the batteries out of Alfie Bear. If you don't have an Alfie Bear, this is not a void I suggest you feel. It's not Alfie's fault, but after 5 hours of I'm a friendly light-up bear, I'll teach you 1, 2, 3, I have been known to hunt down that screwdriver for battery extraction and mutter, "Not so friendly now, are you, Alfie?" He is currently mute, discarded in a toy basket, but is still the best toy ever, one of Henry's favourites, if ever this was in doubt. They break and everyone cries. The freebie toys from magazines and plastic tap from discount stores where things cost around £1 are the usual suspects, leading to tears of disappointment and the dishonest will fix it later promise. I have a fix it later drawer full of sad toys waiting in vain for somebody to buy some super glue. This will never happen. We will throw them out following the aforementioned look at the sodding state of the place conversation. Toys with hundreds of random pieces can piss off. I swear I own rogue pieces that never belonged to an original puzzle or game and have simply appeared like a toy plague. But I daren't chuck them out because of the stock take. By the same token, there are the toys that go missing. Hats off to anyone who's managed to keep the phone attached to the baby walker. And where the hell do those squeaky eggs go? Small toy pieces also become a genuine safety concern when you have an orally investigative baby on a mission to stick bricks down his windpipe. I spend my life shouting, "Don't leave it on the floor, your brother could choke." They are an eyesore. If we were to get our asses into gear and sort out the house, we'd still face this issue. There is simply nothing trendy about a multicoloured jigsaw foam mat. Our ideal home never features a strategically placed Playmobil recycling truck or a statement jumperoo, does it? You might as well forget whatever home interior theme it was that you originally had in mind, unless you were aiming for plastic tat chic. The price of them is extortionate. Aside from the discount stores where things cost around £1, items purchased in I need to put my teeth back in. Items purchased in an attempt to placate the whinging between next and boots. Toys are preposterously expensive. I begrudge paying a small fortune for toys that are often quite basic. Once you've invested, there is also the danger that your child will lose interest in the TV programme you, arguably, should have bloody shares in, given the merchandise you own. I don't like Fireman Sam anymore. It's for babies. Say what? You've got to be shitting me. Time to start making noises about having a clear out. He'll soon reclaim them as his best toys ever. I'd like to take this opportunity to say how terribly sorry I am to all my friends who became parents before I did. In particular, I'm sorry for buying your children modelling clay, craft sets, and toys with gazillions of pieces. I thought these were fun activities you would get out on a rainy Sunday afternoon before returning them to their rightful boxes. I didn't know. Forgive me. Things I swore I wouldn't do as a parent, but do. Don't you just hate it when parents do that? I used to ask James with a chuckle, discussing all manner of annoying parental habits, safe in the knowledge that whatever that was, you would never find me doing it. I didn't have kids back then, obviously. The joke is now on me. I lift up my infant to smell his bum. Not a quick sniff of the general area, but a deep, investigative inhalation of nappy aroma, achieved by burying my face deep into the arse of his sleep suit. Pre-children, I once heard a mum comment, "You know it's not your own baby's poo when it's a foreign smell." I had a little chuckle to myself about how sad her life must be. 3 years later, and I'm pretty confident I could pick Jude's nappy out of a 20-strong nappy sniff test. They should add that as a round to the cube. I refer to my husband as Daddy. And no, this isn't in any way kinky. I have tried so hard not to do this, not to become one of those couples who are happy to exist purely as mummy and daddy. But now and again, I let myself down and ask James, "Do you want a cup of tea, Daddy?" before looking around and realising the kids are in bed. And Daddy hasn't even batted an eyelid at the loss of his actual name. I care less about what I look like. Not all the time. There are times when I care more. I care quite a lot when I know I'm going to come into contact with people who knew me before I incubated 2 small humans, my worst nightmare being them thinking that I have let myself go. But daily life with kids gets in the way of self-maintenance, and sometimes I neglect to shave my legs, lazily throw my hoodie on again, the comfy one with the baked bean stain, and find myself stood in the kitchen shoveling fish fingers into my gob straight from the baking tray. In those moments, I conclude that yes, I have indeed let myself go. I tell lies. Sometimes a lie is the only way to conclude things. Oh no, look, the bakery is shut, sweetheart, so we can't have any cakes today. Spoken as I hastily steer one or other of my children past the open bakery because I have no parenting backbone and cannot be asked to put my foot down with a no. I have at least discovered I'm not alone in occasionally offering a slightly stretched version of the truth for the sake of ending an otherwise infinite conversation. A friend of mine recently posted the following transcript of a conversation she had with her 3-year-old on Facebook under the heading, "I'm way too tired for this." Chester: "When Daddy was a little boy, did he live with Granny and Grandad?" Me: "Yes." Chester: "Where was I?" Me: "You weren't anywhere, as you weren't born yet." Chester: "Was I big?" Me: "No." Chester: "Was I little?" Me: "No." Chester: "Was I in the jungle?" Me: "Yes. Yes, you were." I comment, "Gosh, she's grown," every time I see the offspring of friends or family. I mean, it's kind of a given, isn't it? Kids grow daily. If you don't see your goddaughter for 6 months, it's highly probable she will have got bigger. Regardless, I always feel the urge to say, "She's getting so big now," and or "Look how grown up they both are," as a conversation starter at any social gathering. I'm really boring. I talk crap, actual crap. Engaging in detailed dialogue about things which are neither interesting nor particularly savoury has become a talent of mine. A firm favourite is a comprehensive chat with James about the size, colour, consistency of our offspring's excrement. That was a nasty one. Looks like it's got tiny black wormy things in it. I think that's the banana coming out. It was like that last night, so I Googled it. I much prefer it when they're a bit more solid. Me too. Bloody hell, we're sad. Perhaps we've resorted to this humdrum debriefing about nappy contents and other dull matters. When Jude had his nap, how much of his sandwich Henry ate at lunchtime, it having been good drying weather. Because we've discovered that attempting any kind of grown-up conversation with small people at large is pointless. Occasionally we forget this lesson and start talking seriously about our work meetings, mortgage rates, weekend plans, but after being interrupted every third word and dodging toys that are being thrown at our heads, we forget what we were going to say anyway. I bribe my children. I'll never bribe my children, I once said. Ha ha ha. Bribery is actually the sole parenting tactic I've mastered that seems to produce favourable results. I'm not alone in this bribery. I'm not alone in this. Bribery is the backbone of parenting for 99% of the population. Behind every well-behaved child, there are Percy pigs, right? The remaining 1% are using some kind of witchcraft or sorcery. Maybe we ought to stop being so hard on ourselves and just modify what we call this tactic. Rather than bribing our children, we're simply making use of coercion, negotiation, and rewards. We're teaching our children that their actions and behaviour have consequences, as in, if you eat all your salad, you can have a biscuit. If you behave nicely at Hey Let's Play, you can have a biscuit. If you let mummy phone the insurance company in peace for a moment, she'll give you a biscuit. Balls. There's definitely a biscuit theme here. I'm genuinely having a pang of worry about the boys' teeth now. So in future, I'm going to ration the biscuits. No, brush their teeth for longer. I shout. At home, in the car, in Primark. I know it all looks a bit shameless and it doesn't ever solve the problem, but on a bad day, that's just how I roll. It's bloody difficult not to lose your temper as a parent. I also nag. Like a broken record of parental fussiness, repeating instructions that nobody, least of all my children, are listening to, like, can everybody just calm down a bit? Play nicely. And we're not going anywhere until you stop whinging. The later will be said as we exit the house, while everybody is very much still whinging, because escape to anywhere is better than confinement in the house. And make ridiculous empty threats. Alongside the general warnings issued to get arses out of the door, I often hear myself threatening disproportionate consequences that are both unenforceable and unwise. Right, I'm not going to tell you again, no more TV for the week. As soon as this comes out my mouth, I realise it's an error. How the hell would I make tea for a start? I'm phoning Father Christmas in a minute to get your name taken off the list. There will be no chance to make amends this time. Shitballs, what a stupid thing to say, and it's only August. Say goodbye to all of your favourite toys, they are going to the dump. Henry is cotton on to the fact that his mummy is a bit highly strung and simply waits for me to calm down before quietly retrieving the toys from the take to dump pile in our bedroom. I use baby talk. I give every object a nickname. Milk becomes milkies, bottle becomes bot-bot, nappies become nap-naps, soft toys become snuggies or bunnykins. Just the other day, I said to my husband, and I quote, if you sort out his butt-bots, I'll change his nap-naps and find his snuggies. What a twat. The use of language is bloody annoying for all concerned, but it's what parents do. That said, there is something quite comforting about not caring and just enjoying those babyish moments. When I go in to get Jude first thing in the morning, I pick him up and say, without any embarrassment, good morning, my angel plum-plums. I don't know why or how he became my angel plum-plums, but that is what he is. And a bloody lovely angel plum-plums he is too. If this was a Facebook status, I'd be inserting a heart emoji here alongside an angel and a plum. Why it's fine to reminisce about before. Chatting to James about what life was like before we became parents is one of my all-time favourite pastimes. The conversation usually goes something like this. Do you remember when I used to say, shall we go for a walk or some fresh air? And we would just go out for a walk or some fresh air, right then, without packing a bag. Unbelievable. Do you remember when we had chats about how our days at work have been over dinner? Do you remember when we had proper chats? Do you remember when we had proper dinner? Do you remember when we went to the Dominican Republic? And aside from a token monster truck excursion to a sugar plantation, we did nothing but swim and sunbathe for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Though I'd met lots of parents who share my God, I'd kill for a duvet day sentiment, I sometimes question whether I'm looking back at our pre-parent existence a little too much. Particularly when I meet parents who don't seem to wistfully reflect on life before their children arrived at all. Pre-parent nostalgia spectrum, 0. I cannot remember life before we were blessed with children, nor would I want to. 5. I do miss the odd lie-in. 10. I just want to eat my tea in peace and not have to do a speed poo with both children hanging off my ankles, and not have bladder sneezing issues, and not have to buy the budget supermarket shampoo. Do you remember when we had disposable income? Do you remember when I had actual boobs? Yes, I am a 10. But every now and then, I deliberately stop myself harking back to the good old days, because an increasingly familiar feeling of guilt creeps in and leads me to reason as follows. Persistently thinking back to life before becoming a mum must signify regret for having joined the motherhood and a lack of appreciation for having had children. I persistently think back to life before becoming a mum. Therefore, I do not appreciate my children. This is, of course, just daft. I do appreciate my children, and shaky, guilt-ridden days aside, when everything you do or don't do makes you feel like a terrible parent, I see no reason why we should feel bad about this reminiscing. In fact, I would go so far as to say we should celebrate the before days for all they represented: spontaneity, uninterrupted sleep, going to the cinema to watch something without minions in it, having something to get dressed up for outside of Wednesday's stay and play, having time to browse, having money to buy. Those wild nights out which ended in dirty kebabs and blister plasters. Popping anywhere in under an hour. Having a tantrum-free dinner. Having an efficient pelvic floor. Sunbathing with your eyes shut. Reading in peace, or doing anything in peace. Devouring a grown-up ice cream like a Magnum in its entirety and not having to donate it to the toddler who has just dropped the bottom third of his rocket. When my then 2-year-old lay on the floor at the bottom of the escalator in Next, screaming, "Help me, I'm stuck. Fire, call Fireman Sam." He wasn't stuck. There was no fire. I remembered with great fondness the days when I could actually look at clothes while out shopping and try them on, without getting red and sweaty, without taking somebody's ankles out with the stroller, without swearing. When I had a nasty chest infection last year and felt pretty bloody sorry for myself, I couldn't help but think back to poorly days spent in bed with a Lemsip. I also couldn't help but curse the fact that I was already downstairs at 7 a.m. watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, mustering up the strength to wrestle the baby into a new nappy and wondering why Mickey is such a bellend. Hot dog, hot diggity dog, kill me. Every time a heat wave is promised, I can't help but crave the days of basking in the sun without being consumed by infant sunburn worries. Days when I didn't spend the day running around, slathering everyone in Factor 50 and constantly repositioning the baby's sun hat. We weren't prepared for our second-born to come out quite so ginger. He could easily pass as Max Branning's love child. This has only heightened the need to keep the sun hat on him. Do I miss life before motherhood? Yes, sometimes I miss life before motherhood. Sometimes, when the end of my tether has been well and truly reached and I'm so bloody done in, I long for that old life back, to relive it. But I don't genuinely wish to go back there because the situation is different now. It's true that my life is no longer carefree or spontaneous. It's true I would really like to enjoy a mealtime without somebody crying. It's true I quite liked it when my pelvic floor was intact. But between the tiredness and the cursing at oversized rodents singing about hot dogs, I can hand on heart say I wouldn't change it unless I had a license to borrow Marty McFly's time machine and head back to 2008 once a month on a Sunday, in which case I totally would. I spend significantly more time celebrating my life as a parent than I do reflecting on the glory of life when I was not. Every day provides a celebration of the after days because spending time with my boys knocks spots off all the other stuff from days gone by. So I hope I am in no way being unfaithful to the special life I now have with my boys by remembering what my life was like before them. I am simply remembering a different time, which was a special time in its own right. These days, when other parents declare, "God, I can't even remember what life was like without the kids, can you?" I mostly stick to upfront honesty. Yes, I bloody can. It was beautiful. Part 3, in for a penny. The risk of a dirty protest in the waiting room was a genuine one. Having another one. I reckon we managed approximately 6 months of parenthood before the subtle SCI, second child interrogation, started. When's Henry going to have a little brother or sister, they asked. They, as in the world, his wife, and their nosy sodding dog. Had we thought about the ideal age gap? Had we planned when we would start trying? Wasn't it lucky we already had the 3-bedroomed house to accommodate the second baby? Cue rabbit in the headlights face. What was the right thing to say and do here? I racked my brain for a politer way of saying, "You must be bloody joking." Because quite honestly, at that stage, i.e. during Henry's first year, and in fact some months beyond it, the idea of bringing another sleep-stealing bairn into the world was not one I was prepared to entertain. The first year of motherhood had not exactly lived up to my expectations, though in hindsight, those expectations were probably derived from a Boots Parenting Club article where a mum with very white teeth threw her non-refluxy baby in the air on a warm spring day. At Henry's first birthday party, I can quite vividly remember thinking, I love him at this age and I'm enjoying this bit. I felt as though I'd settled into my role as mum. But that same day, I can also remember looking over at somebody else's newborn baby and thinking, sod that for a game of soldiers. I was just starting to feel like myself again, with Henry sleeping through the night and chatting to me, sort of, and making me laugh. I did feel slightly guilty for having wished his first year away, but I was still quietly glad the baby bit was done and dusted. The worst was over. So I found the constant SCI questions really exasperating. I knew that the people who were asking them were well-meaning and just expressing their curiosity about the shape our family would take. But at times I felt quite troubled by the fact it was simply assumed we would be having another one, as if it must just be a question of when, because we'd be foolish to have just the one. Loads of people have one child and live happily ever after. I can't actually see us having any more, I eventually began to tell people. I hoped that would halt the questioning. But you can't just have one, came the replies. Wouldn't it be a shame for poor Henry? You'll regret it. Don't leave it too late. We continued to present our united one and done stance, and mostly people stopped asking. But I still felt an unspoken pressure to give it more thought, not least because thou shalt have 2 children is like an unwritten commandment in our family. You have 2 children with a gap of somewhere between 2 and 4 years because that is just what you do. I'm one of 2 siblings. James is one of 2 siblings. Our respective siblings each have 2 children. It's as if they all employed the Goldilocks and the 3 Bears logic of child numbers. 1 is not enough and lonely. 3 is too many and a bit crazy. You'd need a new car for a start. 2 is just right. So despite telling anybody who would listen that we had no plans for a second, God no, zero desire to activate the self-destruct button here, Tar. I'm sure the general consensus, particularly among our family, was simply that we would come round to the idea. You'll change your mind, they said. And I guess the 2 child enforcers, were right, because our story doesn't end with Henry as our only child. We must have come round to the idea. Something must have happened to make us broody and tempt us to get back on the baby coaster. Well, kind of. Jude was, after all, another planned pregnancy. I've pledged total honesty in this book, and I would tell you if he was a surprise, or indeed an oopsie baby, as I once read on a parenting forum. I do hope oopsie babies don't grow up with a complex. But no, just like his big brother, the bun was intentionally sighted in the oven. Right, I'm going to stop there for today. Hope you all enjoyed that. We are back online for tea and toast in about half an hour with Luke and myself, and we're excited to have Tessa from Kids Aids joining us. So she's going to tell us all about the brilliant work they do there. So go and grab yourselves a cuppa, come back and join us if you can. If not, have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. See you later.